It's Monday here on the OH.Report, which can only mean one thing. That's right, a bunch of semi-intelligent guys getting together to talk about some local sports, how about some food, some pop culture, and whatever else comes to mind over the next several minutes. I'm the captain here of the ship. My name is Brian. I got my crewmates with me, though, here, too, including, how about these two, the hungriest dynamic duo in the entire area, G-Man and Storm. How are we doing today, gentlemen?
Just great.
Awesome.
Looking great, looking awesome. Great to have those two with us here today. And how about Travis Berardi is in the house as well. I think maybe the last Steelers fan on earth who thinks you're not the trash of the AFC North. He's got no comment. He's got no comment. Hayden Gray also believes in those Steelers, right? Yeah, no victory Monday for them. I'm dressed up today because that's what we do after the Browns win is we look real good. Speaking of looking good, how about some high school football teams here in the area? A lot of noise from the gridiron from around these parts here in north central Ohio, but what were the top storylines that we've seen from week 6? We'll begin right here with you, Hayden, since we haven't got to see your beautiful face yet on camera, and you can fill us in. What do you think is the biggest storyline from week 6 of the high school football season?
Well, I think the biggest storyline that I wanted to follow, talked about it a little bit on the Wednesday Stat Leaders show, was we were looking to see would Marshall Shepard break Brennan Armstrong's 2 records. Again, those were for passing yards in a season and passing touchdowns in a season. He did do those both successfully, so congratulations. But I want to put attention on the wide receiving core. Andre Hill and Blaine Bowman, those are 2 names we talked about a lot on this show.
Beast.
I just want to talk about them again because Marshall Shepard would probably second this. He can't put up the numbers he is right now without these 2 guys. An honorable mention is even the 3rd, Isaiah Ramsey. He's part of this as well. He was 17th on our leaders board last week. So they've got 3 guys that can absolutely ball out. Andre Hill and Blaine Bowman lead the leaders, are leaders in the area for receptions, receiving yards. So I think that if they can continue this aerial attack that they've been able to do, they should be able to win the MOIC. They have kind of a gritty remaining schedule. After Galleon at home this week, they have West Holmes, who's 6-0, River Valley 4-2. That's away, so you can't look past it. And they also have Clear Fork 4-2. I know that's someone we've been talking about. Could be a sleeper team to meet them in the MOIC for a share of that title. So I think they're going to need to keep this aerial attack up, but I'm very impressed by them.
All right, yeah, it's tough not to be impressed by some of those numbers. And certainly if you're breaking records for an entire season and we're just in week 6, you're doing something right. And I know that the BFF of Marshall Shepard is in the house again here today, Storm. Tell the people at home why this guy was impressive again in week 6, because I know that's where you're going.
I mean, obviously, yeah, that's where I'm at, where I've been at for the past 6 weeks. So Marshall Shepard, if you haven't noticed, is really good. He's a really good football player. Yeah. He's had more yards by himself through the air than any team he's played offensively. And he had an off game last week, I would consider. He threw 3 interceptions, and he still threw for 450 yards and 5 touchdowns. And as mentioned prior, he broke 2 records in one night halfway through the season. But just Shelby as a total, they're really good. Their wide receiver core is super good. Andre Hill with 4 touchdowns last game. Blaine Bowman with 4 the game before that. And like Hayden was mentioning, Isaiah Ramsey could go off for over 100 yards any given night. Shelby is just a really good football team.
Real deal. They got the 4 horsemen, as you guys were just talking about, as Eric Will likes to refer to them. So arguably the best receiving core in the area, maybe the entire state. A lot of athleticism out there. So we know what we're going to get from the Whippets on any given night. That passing game, strong, big time. But G-Man, a couple of teams to you maybe have been a little bit of a surprise to some folks around the area.
Yeah, and I definitely think the biggest surprise of the year is going to go out to Crestview. Nobody really coming into this year thought they were even going to be able to win 5 games. They lost 4 All-Ohioans, 4 big players, and yet they're probably going to win the Finalist Conference as long as they can run the table and knock off St. Paul, of course. But I think the biggest takeaway from me from Week 6 was last week against the Ottawa Hills, they had 9 penalties and still let up not that many yards defensively. They had a few bad possessions, but, man, they looked pretty solid. They put up 35 points in the win. held the Ottawa Hills to 10 points. So I think Crestview, even on a bad night, got it done against a solid squad. A little bit less competition, but they're getting back into some finalist conference play against South Central this week. And it was hard for me just to pick one. So I picked Crestview. My second one, I'm going to go with Clear Fork, and I think they might sneak up on Shelby. They got a veteran coaching staff, obviously, under Dave Carroll, and I think he's going to put together a solid game plan against Shelby, as long as, of course, they can run the table as well. They got a few interesting opponents coming up, Ontario, Pleasant, and Marion Harding before the showdown versus Shelby. So they can't overlook any of those squads, but with a young squad like this, Victor Skoog and some of those wide receivers and running back Devin Freeman, they might scare the Shelby Whippets maybe in the first half. I don't know if I'll take them for the full game, but they might have Shelby on the ropes.
That's going to be a really fun matchup, no question about it. And I think you're right. I don't think very many people outside of the locker room of Crestview thought that the Cougars would be doing what they are doing at this point in the season. But they like the doubters, man. That's what Connor Morris told us after the game. He said, bring it on. Tell us that we ain't no good. Tell us that we're not going to win, that we can't replace a bunch of guys on offense and defense. And so far, the Cougars been answering the bell. Clear Fork, a young team, too. They're going to be fun to watch. Kind of the same storyline, cut from the same type of cloth here, I would say. Colonel Crawford, right, Travis? You know, they graduated a bunch of guys. How could they respond so far? Pretty impressively, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say just like Crestview, a team that you didn't know they were going to do because they lost so many key pieces. Well, Crawford, they just continued to roll. Here's a couple quick comparisons. Brock Ritzhoff last year, just under 1,200 yards passing, 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Go to Cam Lure this year. He has already over 650 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. You had Tristan Cross, who led the Northern 10 last year in rushing with 1,419 yards, 21 touchdowns. Lincoln Mollenkopf just taking over. He's the leader in the air, one of the leaders, I should say, because of Nauman down at Highland, but one of the leaders, leads the Northern 10, 1,130 yards already in 6 games.
Right.
And on the defensive end, they lost an all-star last year, Chase Walker, 3rd in sacks with 6. Already this year, Parker Ketterman leads the Northern 10 with 7 sacks. So they just rebuilt immediately. They didn't take a couple years to get better. They're right back in it. They had that tough loss to carry, but other than that, Colonel Crawford, one of the best teams in the Northern 10, and maybe another chance of making a run in the playoffs.
Yeah, really hard to argue with that one. And all really good arguments, I think, from everybody here on staff. But for me, it's got to be those West Holmes Knights showing that they are the new bully of the OCC. They had the big expectations coming in, and what they did, big come-from-behind win over Worcester this last Friday night, a team that had won each of the last 4 OCC championships, including 5 of the last 6, and they did it 14 unanswered points in the 4th quarter. That was big time. And this transfer kid that they got from Loudonville, Sam Williams-Dixon, he's one of the MVP candidates in the entire area. Just a sophomore, but this dude is dynamite. 241 all-purpose yards, 4 touchdowns for him against that Worcester team that has, as mentioned, they have been the kings. They have been dominating the OCC. Not on Friday night. West Holmes proved that they are the cream of the crop, still undefeated at 6-0, in large part because Sam Williams-Dixon is a man. Well, on Friday night, we announced the Week 5 winners of the Friday Night Phenoms and the top 5 plays, and it kind of shook out a little something like this. Each and every week here on the Friday Night Pigskin, we put all of our top plays and our phenoms into your hands, and we let you, the people of North Central Ohio, decide what it was that was the best of the best from every single week. And we even had our own Storm Blunchley go on record and tell us that if Marshall Shepard were to be our phenom selection for this week, that he will cut off his hair. He is going to shave it, folks, here live on camera. We have the buzzer set up. I'm not sure yet if we get to see it. I really hope that we do. Let's go ahead and roll the clip. Who is our Friday Night Phenom from week number 5? Did Marshall Shepard get over the hump, or will it be another quarterback? How about this from the East Knox Bulldogs? We've got Peyton Lester for his performance against Conneton Valley, showing out. Big performance for him as the Dogs rolled to yet another win against an opponent that they picked up last second. So congratulations to this gentleman right here for having a huge, huge performance. Lots of touchdown passes, aired it around to quite a few different guys. And Peyton Lester in his senior season getting the accolades and the acknowledgement that he certainly deserves here. Getting plays like this from some of your wideouts definitely helps as well, though. Carson Steinmetz, a big part of that. So, Storm, you get to keep your hair for at least another week. And Whip It Nation, you let my boy down again. Man, maybe next week. We'll keep the buzzers here in studio just in case. But the mullet, it lives. It lives on. As far as the top play of the week, again, you guys vote, you decide, and here it is. This was the best of the best from week number 5, according to you, the people of North Central Ohio. And the best play was... Oh, how about this? Bad snap, and the Lucas Cubs take full advantage of it. Noah Langston, a scoop and a score for the Tutty as the Lucas Cubs knock off a Division II school in Lakewood that came to their place, but they weren't having none of it. Huge play right there for the Cubs. So those were your Phenom and your top play from week number 5. You, the people, decide, and we bring it to you right here every Friday night. So congratulations to both of those athletes for making big contributions to their team, making big plays, getting big wins. Bravo to both of you. Now, let's meet the nominees for the Friday Night Phenoms from Week 6 of the high school football season. Let's begin over at Ashland Community Stadium, where Landon McFrederick had one heck of a performance, 15 of 23 through the air, got it into the end zone 3 times with that right arm as well, put it up for 160 yards, and then you see here doing some dazzling stuff with his feet, getting some defensive linemen up off of theirs, and then throwing dimes down the field. Big time stuff. The opponent, not great in the Madison Rams, but you can only play who's on the schedule. That's what Ashland did. And that's why this kid was a phenom for us, just lighting it up, hitting targets all over the field, getting a little bit of help too from some of the wide receivers. You see fighting off one there, getting into the end zone, throwing a defensive back on the ground. And then one more time at Frederick, going to be going to the air here against the Rams. Bringing the heat, doesn't matter, stands tall in the pocket, lobs one into the end zone, boom, right on the money. Beautiful touch on that pass right there. That is why Mr. McFrederick is a nominee. How about Clear Fork quarterback Victor Skoog? Near perfect performance for him. 197 through the sky and a touchdown, and then he also ran it a bunch and then just had a nose for the end zone. G-Man, you saw this guy in person. He does a lot of different things well offensively. He's got good burst, good acceleration, and just a nose for the end zone, like I mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. He's a very young kid, too, and he's really the center of this offense. He gets it done both through the passing game and the rushing game, and he doesn't turn the ball over and put it in harm's way. And I wanted to shout out to Storm here. And the interview, man, he said that they're ready for the rest of the season, but they got Shelby in the back of their mind. They know that they're coming for that MOAC title, and a very young squad. I know Dave Carroll's going to have his team prepared, but these highlights, man, he's a heck of a player, and he really balled out against Neath Donaldson and the Galleon Tigers to pick up a big MOAC win and knock them off 36-21.
And even though he's pretty young, still a lot of swag, saying that they want the Shelby Whippets. They want a shot at the MOAC champions. So Clear Fork, they coming, man. We'll see if Skoog and company can get it done moving forward in the MOAC. Max Lauer, a kid that I seen with my very own eyes, so impressive. He runs with determination, with grit. He does not ever shy away from contact. And then when he can get away from the pack, look at the Jets, turns on the speed. Travis, I see why you've been talking about these golden Knights, my friend. Max Lauer's the real deal.
You want to talk about Sam Williams-Dixon being a man amongst boys. Look at Max Lauer. And I want to talk about the yards after first contact. He breaks multiple tackles, and you saw that throughout the night. One of the main reasons why the Golden Knights are undefeated this year. 22 carries, 262, and a touchdown. And that was the most impressive run right here. Right before the half, Fredericktown had a little momentum. You thought Northmore run out the clock. No. Max Lauer gets a big gain. Northmore ends up scoring to make it 34-6 at the half. And that was it. That was the ball game right there. Max Lauer, just a phenomenal effort.
And you see the student section, they love him out there, man. He's one of those, humble kids, maybe kind of quiet sometimes, but when he plays big and loud. So does this guy, Andre Hill. One of the overlooked guys, I think, on this Shelby offense. 15 catches. That's pretty insane. Hayden, I understand why you wanted to talk about him. These are career-style numbers, or at least for a season, that this dude put up in just 48 minutes in one game.
Yeah, the stat line from this from this game for Andre Hill is crazy. I don't know the exact math if you broke that down to yards per catch, but I mean 254 on 15 receptions, extremely impressive. 4 touchdowns that almost matched what he had coming into this game on the season. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he had 5 coming into this game. You just see the athleticism of his ability. He's not the biggest guy weight-wise, but he's able to just carry these defenders. He's also had a couple top plays where he's jumped into the sky, so he's got the hops, he's got the strength. An overall great receiver for Andre Hill with an interception in the game, too.
Doing it on offense and defense. Great catch right there. Yes, you did get in for a touchdown. And this guy breaking school records for an entire season through 6 weeks. We talked about it already, but wow. 453 again? This guy's unbelievable, Storm. What's he got to do to get some votes? I don't get it.
I don't know. I don't understand anymore. I think I've tried everything. I think the stats kind of just speak for themselves. I mean, 5 touchdowns and 453, and that's an average night for Marshall Shepard. And he broke 2 school records in one night. They were season records halfway through the season. Just incredible. I mean, just absolutely unreal. I cannot believe what Marshall Shepard's able to do for the Shelby Whippets.
Took Brennan Armstrong right off of the history record books, off the board. Over 2,500 yards now for Marshall, and then over 30 touchdowns. Those are your nominees. Make sure you get your vote in. Make it count. All right, so those were the best players that we saw in the area in terms of our Friday Night Phenoms. Now, let's meet the players and the nominees for the top 5 plays of the week. Begin with nominee number 1, and I feel like we've already kind of seen this connection before. Ashland's starting to perfect this baby right here. A little swing out to the halfback, but no, he's going to put it up through the air. Circus catch on the backside as well by Grayson Sturry. Decent pass by Bryant Haase, but Sturry making it count here. Double cover, triple covered, and the Rams still can't throw him down. 50 big yards right there on the halfback pass for the Ashland Arrows. At play number 2, how about Fredericktown and their running back Tegan Rule? 84-yard kickoff return to the house, and they needed this one, Travis. The Freddies got what they needed at the right time from this guy.
Yeah, start the second half. Looked like they got a little momentum for, at the time, the number 10 rusher. Really didn't do anything offensively up until this point, but this is a kid that can spark this Fredericktown offense at any point, and it looked like they did, but that Northmore defense just a little too much for them as they fell 40 to 20.
Not because of the effort of that guy, though. Huge kickoff return to kick off the second half. Galleon, Cooper Kent to Hanif Donaldson, and you at least got to have the guts to put it up and then just let your boy go to work. Hanif doing it every single week. G-Man just throwing guys to the ground. It's extraordinary how he does this week in, week out.
I'm not even sure if the ball was supposed to go to him, but Cooper Kent said, whatever, just throw it to him, let's see what he can do, and he hits the Heisman pose right here. Stiff arms, a good defender, and Victor Skoog, too, to the ground, and rushes all the way into the back of the end zone. Heck of a play from Neve Donaldson. He is not new to this list.
No joke. All right, at nominee number 4, we've got Marcus Cortez. He's going to put it up for Trenton Ramos. Back of the end zone. Does he have room? Just barely. Actually got 2 feet in, 26-yard over-the-shoulder TD catch. Pretty stuff right here, Hayden Gray.
Yeah, that was a great ball from Cortez, and you can tell that he really trusts his wide receivers. He makes really good decisions, just being able to see the whole field. This was one of many good plays that he had on the night, and they were able to get the win.
Let's see another tiptoe drag catch right here. Andre Hill from the right arm of Marshall Shepard, and yes, he's going to get the feet in. Storm, you had the perfect angle on that to video.
Yeah, I mean, it was just incredible. I had to actually go back and watch it. I wasn't a firm believer that he got both those feet inbound. That was an NFL-style touchdown. Just incredible awareness on the field to get that one in.
And those are your nominees for Week 6 for the top 5 play of the week. All right, guys, so those are some successful performances, but what about those that really haven't performed up to expectations yet? I'm going to have you guys each name a team that has underachieved so far this season, but has a chance for a big, strong finish as we get into Week 7, 8, 9, and 10. G-Man will let you lead us off. Who comes to mind on this list for you?
Well, I talked about it a few weeks ago when they faced off against Gallion. They ended up beating Gallion. I'm going to go with Marion Harding of the MOAC. They're sitting at 3-3 overall, 1-2 in the MOAC, and they could finish third in the MOAC. Excuse me, and they're ranked 11th in Division II, Region 7. So with the new playoff format, top 16 team gets in. Right now, they're still in there, and they could definitely make a run if they can get in there. They just got to play a full 4 quarters of football, and they played a first quarter against Shelby. They made Marshall Shepard look human for a little bit. They had 3 interceptions against him. So I think Marion Harding, if they can play 4 quarters, get the defense going, and get Brady Wink and Wesley Stokes on the same page, they can make a dangerous run in the postseason.
You know, one thing that I really like about this pick, they at least got the quarterback in place. That's the biggest chip out there on the field. And he has been a playmaker for them pretty much every single week, with the exception of that game against Mansfield Senior, where they did make him look pretty pedestrian. But we're talking about the rest of the season, what he could do. Storm, where are you headed on this one?
I have Ashland, but I did want to take a quick mention to talk about Marion Harding as well. They're a good football team. They're very good. Like Garrett said, they made Marshall Shepard look human, and anyone who can do that is a good football team in my books. But for Ashland, started off 0-4, bounced back with a couple of wins in the past couple of weeks. For the start of the season, the combined record of teams that have beat them is 20-4.
Not bad.
So they have been playing some good opponents. That being said, the combined record of the teams that they have just beat is 1-9.
Oh.
So it's kind of a mixed bag of what you see, but this week is probably the true test. Mansfield Senior, who's 4-2, a little bit of a rivalry game as well. That's going to be at Mansfield Senior, so that's a tough bump to have to try to go over. But I do firmly believe that despite the slow start, Ashland could finish the season 5-5.
We saw this a couple of years ago where they did exactly that. Got off to a really slow start. They picked it up once they got into conference play. Unfortunately, I think for the Arrows, the second half of the schedule, kind of tough in the conference down the stretch. They're still going to have to play Worcester, of course, and you mentioned playing the Tigers this week. But they are playing much better football than they were early on in the season. So this was an interesting choice that I actually initially I jotted them down. That this was going to be my pick. I'm going to be going somewhere else, though. But we'll go over to you, Travis, and we'll get your pick next.
I gotta go with.
No, just joking, man. I got to share. I got to share about my team. And how about Mohawk and what they just did in the Northern 10 League? This was a team that had lost 4 games in a row. And G-Man, you had mentioned, hey, how about the competition of the teams that your squad was going up against? Mohawk, they went up against a bunch of 5-1 teams early in the season. They were able to knock off Seneca East, who was winners of 4 consecutive games. So that was huge. Cary, Gibsonburg, Hopewell Loudon, the 3 teams that they lost to early in the season. So it gets a little bit easier for them moving forward, just not this week. They got to play 5-1 Colonel Crawford, so pretty much everybody on the schedule is good for them with at least 5 wins. But after that, they get the 3 bottom feeders of the N10, Bucyrus, Buckeye Central, and Winford. If they can finish the final 4 games with a 3-1 record, so I'm kind of conceding maybe they could even lose to Colonel Crawford. This is a team in D6 Region 26, might even host a playoff game. All they got to do is knock off a couple of decent squads over the next few weeks. So that's why they could be a good bounce-back squad that I'm going with. Now, Travis, we will hear from you.
You sure?
Yeah.
You sure? Okay.
I'm ready now.
I'm going to go with the Plymouth Big Red. They started
Okay.
off 3-0. They had high hopes, especially Jake Furt, the News Journal, said this is the best team they've had in forever. But they've dropped their last 3 games, but really close. Monroeville and St. Paul, a combined 6 points, and then they lost a 2-score game to Western Reserve. Those 3 teams, a combined 14-4, but they still sit at 12th in Division 7 Region 25. They're still right in it. They have 3 games remaining, one of them being a big one against the Crestview Cougars. I think 5-4, unless they can find another opponent for their 10th game in Week 9. But other than that, being led by Shade Sparks in 6 games, 94 carries, 863 yards, 15 touchdowns. If they can go 2-1 in those last 3 games, they'll be in the playoffs. If they somehow pull off the miracle and knock off Crestview, I don't see it happening. Sorry, Plymouth fans, but if you do, they may be able to slip in and get a home game, but I can see them, if they go 2-1, still making the playoffs.
All right, and now the best for last in terms of record-wise. You're going with the only team on the list, Hayden Gray, that actually has a winning record at this point. Do explain.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to go with Mansfield Senior. I don't want it to come off as some kind of knock at Mansfield Senior. I actually want it to be considered kind of a compliment. So it's stretching the word underachieved. I don't feel they've underachieved in terms of their overall record. I just don't think they've been as dominant as I expected heading into the season. You look at their roster, and I think they definitely have talent and skill to win games. QB Brock Hill, he was 8th last week in our passing leaders. Miles Bradley, a wide receiver, he was 8th in our receiving leaders last week. So they have a good connection. I'm just not too sure on them with some of their wins. They have wins over 1 and 5, Norwalk by 6 points. Marion Harding, which we did just give some credit to, they beat 37-6, so that's a good one. North Canton Hoover and
Great
Lexington. Mm-hmm. So their losses come to really good West Holmes and Tiffin Columbian back-to-back weeks. They bounced back last week against Lexington. So I don't think they're not underachieving in terms of their record, but I just think there's more to them this year. And so I think with the rest of the record, or the rest of the schedule they have, they play Ashland, Worcester, Mount Vernon, and Madison, which they did lose that game last year to Madison in a shocker. But I think that they could go 4-0 with the remaining schedule that they have, and that could be enough to give them a fighting chance at a share at the OCC. So this is a compliment to them just because I expect a little bit more out of them, and I'm excited to see what they'll do with the last 4 games of the year.
All right, well, you mentioned the game that they're going to be playing against Ashland. We are going to have that game for you live and free right here on the OH.Report coming up on Friday night. Go ahead and take a look at all the other games that we're going to have available for you as well right here. We're going to be partnering with the WNCO crew for that game over at Arlen Field. Definitely looking forward to that one. Ontario at Clear Fork. That will have Josh Pollock along with Andy Jardy on the call over there. G-Man, you're going to be running our top camera for that game. What are you looking forward to most about that matchup?
Well, I think the big thing coming in is when you get in this time of year, all the younger teams and the teams that aren't achieving that they wanted to, they want to play spoiler and they want to knock you out of the playoffs. And I think that's a big key right here, an ultimate trap game for Clear Fork. They got to get the reins in and get this big win over a young team and move on. You can't overlook them, though. It's an ultimate trap game. Everyone wants to play spoiler in high school sports. Knock them out of the playoffs so you get bragging rights over a conference rival.
Well, a team that has played spoiler to Northmore a couple of times over the last few years, the East Knox Bulldogs going on the road at 6-0 Northmore. This is the game of the week. 5-1 Bulldogs, Trav. Pretty good stuff.
Yeah, 2 years ago, East Knox comes into Northmore, both teams undefeated at 5-0, and then the Bulldogs just steamrolled the Golden Knights behind one of the best running efforts that I've seen in quite a while. That catapulted them to a undefeated regular season, a regional championship, state Final Four berth. The year before that, Northmore undefeated 9-0, going to Highland, who was 9-0, get knocked off. Could this finally be the year that Northmore gets the undefeated season in that first KMAC championship? We'll find out because this is going to tell a lot about both these squads.
Another game in the KMAC, Mount Gilead at Centerburg. We will have that one for you. Brian Harder, Bruce Wyrick on the call down there in the heart of Ohio. And then I'm going to be on the call with Effie James for Tiffin Calvert at Lucas. The Cubs shut out at home last week, which was a big shocker. Opportunity for them to bounce back coming up on Friday night at home, where they almost always play well. Last week was a bit of a stunner, as mentioned. And then Galleon at Shelby, 2 teams that we've had featured every single week so far. What do you think is going to ultimately decide this one, Storm? You're going to be out there making the highlight.
I think it's going to be if Shelby can stop Hanif Donaldson. I really think that that's going to be the key. Shelby's defense is really going to have to step up. I mean, we have no questions about their offense at this point in the season. It's just really going to be in the hands of the defense. If they can stop Hanif Donaldson, then they're going to be happy on Friday night.
So there's our coverage schedule coming up for Friday night. That is the football games that you can see right here on the OH.Report. All right, guys, so for fans, some wear some lucky socks. Some will sit like in a particular part of the room. Some will drink the exact same thing every single week as long as it is working. But what I want to know is, what are your superstitions when you're watching your favorite professional teams play? What do you do to ensure that they are going to go out there and get that W? How do you bring victory to your favorite teams, Hayden?
I kind of have a superstition with clothing. As everyone knows at this point, probably I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Week 1 against the Bills, I wore a white Troy Polamalu jersey just for randomness. We won, so I'm like, well, I'm going to wear that week 2. Didn't win week 2 in it, so I switched it up. Went with a Color Rush Ryan Shazier jersey for week 3. Didn't win in that either. So we're going to keep going through the wardrobe. I know that was football specific, but with my teams, it kind of depends on what I'm wearing. If something is bringing some success, I'm going to stick with it.
Okay.
Could be.
Garrett, I see that you're in a Vikings jersey today. Vikes, of course, got a big win on Sunday. That's your favorite team. Is it clothing for you? Is that how you bring the juice for your squad?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good pick. I usually change it up all the time. I typically don't wear a jersey on game day. I feel like it brings a little bit of bad juju. We lost in Cincinnati, and I was wearing the Kirk jersey, so I decided to take it off, and I've been going with some long sleeve of Vikings apparel. We've been in those games. Last night we won, so that's a big superstition for me too. But I think my biggest one is going to be the perfect meal. Now, I have a pretty serious game day routine when I wake up. I mean, I check all my fantasy lineups, get them set, get the food ordered, and it's on its way as soon as game time is ready to be kicked off. Eat the food before halftime. Make sure it's gone before halftime. And if there's any leftovers, I can't touch them until after the game. And so far, the past 2 weeks, we've been in the game, so it's been working.
Okay. I like it. I like it. So sometimes the perfect food can bring the right vibe. Do you agree, Storm? Do you try to get, like, you know, some chicken wings or something that worked the previous week? Or how do you go about bringing some wins to your favorite teams?
Well, I think it's all in where you sit or where you watch from. And, you know, that's kind of a temporary thing, too. So, you know, if you're sitting in one spot, it's not working, you can move, try a new spot. But, you know, typically I have my favorite spot where I like to watch. But, hey, if it's not moving or if it's not working, then I got to move.
And for some fan bases, it just doesn't matter where you sit or what you do. You just can't seem to get it right. So go ahead, run the clip. And Storm, if this looks familiar to you, I believe this happened yesterday. And just fill me in. Where were you sitting when Justin Tucker entered the field for this?
Well, it was my dad's free weekend on NFL Red Zone, and, you know, just so happened to cut back to the Lions game, and we went down, drove down, couldn't punch it in the red zone, but got that field goal. I was feeling really good. I said, there's no way he does it again. Did it to us a couple of years ago. I say, not a 66-yarder, and
no one's ever done it before. You were looking like you were in good shape.
Yeah, and at this point, looking back on it, I was pretty upset at the time, but you know what? It's tank season. The Lions really don't have that much talent on the field anyways, so I think it's just time to call it a season.
You know what? That's the second time that an NFL record has been broken on a game-winning field goal against the Lions.
It was the same guy.
Well, no, it was
it a different guy?
Saints kicker that originally made, I think it was the 61-yard field goal was something like that, way before Jason Elam broke it at Denver in the mid-'90s. But it was, I think in 1970, Saints kicker kicked the longest field goal to defeat the Lions by 3. So it's the second time it's happened. It's tough.
Yeah, being a fan of certain teams, it's just tough. No matter what you do, it just doesn't seem to work. I'm a Browns fan. I know all about that from the last 15 years of my life. It doesn't matter what the superstition is. Travis, what do you do, though? How are you bringing the flavor and the juice for your squad?
It's just wearing team gear for me. When the Mountaineers play, I'm wearing my Pat White jersey. When the Steelers are playing, I'm wearing the Hines Ward jersey. It doesn't change. If they lose or win, I just stick with that. You've seen me. I know a bunch of these Ohio State haters have seen me out at games saying, why are you wearing that WVU polo? It's because it's my team, all right? I don't care. Win, lose, or draw, we support our teams, and I would never switch, anything like that.
Okay, and then for me, guys, it doesn't really have any... it's different every single week, okay? And it changes right after kickoff. I'm not a superstitious person. I don't really care about anything until the games actually start. Then I'm really weird. I'm talking to my TV a lot, I'm talking to God a lot, you know what I mean? I'm talking to the quarterback out there when I'm at the games, even when I'm at home, it doesn't matter. But if I'm doing something in particular and my team is doing well, I'm going to keep doing that thing, I'm going to keep sitting in that spot, I'm going to keep drinking whatever I have in my hand until it goes wrong. Then it's chaos in my brain, and I'm thinking, how did I just affect it? Where do I have to go? What do I have to do? And it just changes circumstance to circumstance, play by play. But before the game, I have nothing, man. I don't wear no lucky clothing or anything. Don't have a specific food that I eat. But once the game tips off or kicks off, I'm an absolute mental wreck. I have problems. My wife right now is telling me that it's just not all together there during the time that my favorite teams are on the field. But right now, going pretty well for Browns fans. That's why I'm in the nice victory jacket here 2 weeks in a row. That's right, Steelers fans. Love you guys. Okay. Finally, it's the final week of September now, so which means we're leading into October, guys. And when October hits, it's spooky season. It becomes Halloween in America, which definitely means on your TV sets, you're going to be seeing lots of horror movies. That's how we are filling it up on many of the different channels. So it got the debate going today. Who is the best horror movie villain. I know that there's a lot of good ones out there. Certainly, I think I narrowed it down to at least the top 5. So there are some ones that carry a little bit more cachet than some others. I'm curious to hear where you guys are going with this. The 2 youngest members of the pack, G-Man and Storm. What do you got for me? Who's the best horror movie villain?
Am I starting us off? All right, so listen. I know I'm a young guy, but I am terrified of horror movies. I know it's going to surprise a few of you, but I have only watched one horror movie, if you even want to call it that. Halloween a few years ago came out, and I went to the movie theater and watched it, and I fell in love with it. I'm super excited for the next one to come out here in a few weeks. But so I guess I can't say my favorite, but so far that would have to be my pick. I think the scariest, though, I seen Chucky when I was little on a commercial, and I was terrified for weeks. I couldn't sleep at all. So, yeah, Chucky, definitely the scariest for me. I hate like super conjuring stuff like that and dolls. I can't do that. But Halloween, I thought it was a pretty good movie, and I'm super excited for the new one to come out here in a few weeks.
All right, so Michael Myers is the pick for G-Man. Storm, are you going to support your friend? Is he the best?
I actually do have a different one, but I wanted to give a shout out to Jack Torrance. I think he was an excellently written villain, but I also picked kind of just another normal guy. I picked Hannibal Lecter as the best horror villain, and I think the scariest part of both of these guys is that they're just regular people. There's nothing crazy supernatural about it. They're just normal guys who are insane, and I think that is, what makes it the most scary. So I think that's got to be my best horror movie villain by far.
He definitely has like the best one-liners. That guy, and just the accent and everything, he can eat your face right off. Pretty good one. Silence of the Lambs, I would say maybe even an underrated horror movie. I don't think it gets quite the love that it deserves because it's a really well-written movie. Not quite the slasher flick that a lot of people like, but I know that this is a great character. And you're going to agree with somebody already, Travis. I can tell by looking at you. Who are you going to go with?
Well, I agree with G-Man. Michael Myers. He won't die. I mean, you watch Halloween 1.
Something about that, right?
I just have this ritual every year on Halloween night. I watch at least Halloween 1 and Halloween 2. The originals, they're not scary. It's just it's fun to watch those old horror flicks and be like, yeah, he's around the corner. They're in the woods alone. They're going to die and all that stuff. But Michael Myers, in the first Halloween, he gets stabbed in the eyeball with the clothes hanger, gets shot, falls off a balcony, and disappears. He gets blown up multiple times in this whole set of Halloween films. He's burnt alive in the latest one, and apparently he comes out because they've made another. The guy just won't die, and it's just weird and crazy, and I guess that's so a Halloween movie right there. It's just the villain that just will not go away.
I got you. So I agree. Okay, on some respects, at least if I'm looking out the window and it's Halloween, the one guy I don't want to see is Michael Myers because, again, you just can't kill the guy. He's going to come back. But what I can at least do for myself, I can lock the door, I can set the alarm system, and I can keep him out.
He still shows up, though. He still comes in.
One place where I have no control in my life is of my dreams. And when I go to bed, a guy that I definitely don't want to see is Freddy Krueger down in that boiler room with the weird hand thing that he does. He's got the contraption there. He can slice you wide open. And just look at his face. He's been burnt alive, and you can tell that he's been burnt. I don't want to see this guy ever in my life. He definitely is the creepiest one, played by the same exact actor in every single movie, too, until they had the retread. And unlike Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees, he can talk to you. He's got a really creepy voice. I don't like the sound of Freddy Krueger's voice at all. And how about the song, too? 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. 9, 10, never sleep again. Do you want to hear some kids singing that on your block? I don't think so, especially if you're not going to bed. And it's all geared towards teenagers when you're like the craziest. Like, I have so much to live for, but he's coming after me. A lot to unpack there. Clearly, it impacted my childhood way too much. Hayden, what about you?
I'm glad Brian had a lot to say because similar to G-Man, and unpopular around here, I'm not a huge horror movie guy. I'm almost 23, but I will admit they scare me terribly. So I went with Freddy Krueger as well because Freddy Krueger's the only horror movie villain I really remember watching, and I do remember it sticking with me. So I'm going to go with him because he's terrifying. All of these guys on this list look terrifying. Freddy just looked the most terrifying based off looks, so I went with Freddy Krueger.
Excellent pick all the way around. All these guys just absolutely frightening, but if they can get you in your dreams, fellas. You can't get away. There's only so many bangs that I can drink, and I drink a lot of them, guys, but I can't stay up forever. Eventually, I gotta go to sleep. At least, like I said, I can lock my doors and keep some of these other supervillains out, set the alarm, and I know that they're on the way. I might not be able to do anything about it, but at least I'll know. Okay, so Halloween season means candy, guys, and with candy for Halloween, it certainly means candy corn, the one time a year that it gets on the shelves. Is it a good candy, though? Will you eat candy corn? Hayden, you can begin.
I already got upset when I saw this question.
Mad already.
I knew this was my trap game, and they probably didn't even know how I was going to answer. But I'm the only one. Well, we'll see what happens. But I said yes, that if we're going off of does someone like candy corn, it doesn't have to be their favorite. I'm going to say yes because I think it's good with peanuts. That's the combination. I don't just want to sit and eat it plain.
Interesting.
Whoa.
Interesting.
So if you haven't tried it, there you go. I think it's good with peanuts.
It's like a mix, like a trail mix type deal, but a Halloween trail mix.
Right. It's not the greatest solo, I will admit that. But if you mix it with peanuts, I think it's good. I don't want it year-round. You just want it around Halloween time. So I think it has some incentive that way. And to everyone else, well, we can circle back because the majority of it's just sugar, all right? And if you like sugar, then you like candy corn. I'm going to leave it at that. Let's hear what you guys got to say.
Let them have it, boys.
You go first, Storm.
I think you might as well just eat a bottle cap if you're going to eat candy corn. I just think
Which one of you likes chewing on bottle caps?
I think it's
That was actually an answer on the podcast earlier in the year. That was me.
yeah. So, but I don't know. Not really my thing. They're just too waxy. Ugh. I don't know. Even looking at them just makes.
I'm
me
gonna be honest.
sick.
I don't think I've even ever tried one.
Well,
But
don't.
just looking at it and the presentation of it, and it being named and resembling corn for a Halloween candy, just is not my vibe. And it looks pretty rancid. I mean, I don't even want to
It's
come near
fun
it.
to get it in
and
your Halloween
it is
basket.
waxy. It's
Yeah.
like got a candle wax vibe to it. Not me. I'm sorry, Hayden. Yet again, it's a bad choice.
All right. So Hayden overruled again for his food choice, and like you said, like you've looked at it, but you've never attempted it because I feel like it's not even a candy. It's there just to be visualized. It's kind of a decorative piece during the holiday season. I know that I grew up in a house where we had the exact same candy corn in a jar for about 30 years in a row. We never changed it up because nobody was touching it. Nobody wanted to eat it, even if there was some peanuts on the side to go hand in hand with it. So I agree. Candy corn, it's not going to make it on my radar. And there's a reason, guys, that it's only out there for 1 month out of the year, and then it doesn't make a comeback. All the other Halloween candies, I feel like if you eat them a couple of months later, it's still cool, still delicious. If you got candy corn, you're trying to eat candy corn in December? Give me a break, man. Not doing it, not having it. Travis, do you like it?
I'm meh. It's
Meh.
like meh. If it's there, I might have one or two, but I'm not hurt that it's not there the rest of the year. Hayden's the only one that enjoys it enough to eat a lot of it, I guess. If it's there, I'll maybe a handful a year, and that's it. It's not something I look forward to. It's not something that I absolutely hate, though, but it's just meh.
There you have it. Hopefully this episode wasn't just meh for you guys. Glad that you all tuned in here on Facebook and YouTube, and you can get more from the OH.Report tonight. We got some live and free boys high school soccer going down over at Mansfield Christian. They'll be taking on the Eagles of Delaware. Christian Flames looking to bounce back tonight after a couple of losses on the road, but they always play good at the friendly confines of Comstock Field. I will be on the call for that one along with Travis. What are you most looking forward to seeing tonight from the Flames?
Mansfield Christian, they have 4 main scorers led by Davis Wyszynski, who has 9 points, 4 goals, 1 assist. But they're a team, they love to run the set piece and score off of it. If they can get a few corner kicks tonight, they have a really good shot of scoring because they can get the headers off the far post with that. I've seen them score multiple times this year already. So if they can get a couple corner kicks, they'll have a good chance of getting on the board early and then setting the pace for the rest of the match.
All right, so again, you can catch that one live and free at 6:50 p.m. tonight with myself and Big League Berardi on the call. But we are getting out of here for now. I guess I'll leave the final word to you guys. Whatever you want. Go ahead.
Anyone in the NFC but the Packers, and the Lions aren't going to win it either. So
Candy corn is good.
Meh.
2 wins in a row. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Happiest place on earth. Live in Ohio.